The craziest fines in NBA history. The NBA, like most professional leagues, is full of crazy rules that players and teams must abide by. Some make sense and are necessary. However, some are archaic, outdated, or just plain pointless. In this video, we will delve into some of the craziest fines the NBA has ever doled out. Some of these involve some marquee names, including a double dose of fines to the greatest player of all time that led to changes even in the NBA. We are, of course, talking about His Airness Michael Jordan. You won't want to miss those. We'll get to the first fine in a second, but first please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video like this, and please comment and like the video when it's done. If you think there's one that deserves mentioning that we didn't include, let us know in the comments down below. Mind the dress code. Yes, the NBA has a dress code for players. This famously became a big story in the early 2000s. Up until that time, players could wear anything they wanted on the bench when injured. As you can imagine, some players elected to wear unprofessional looking clothes given the freedom. This led to the NBA to institute a dress code for the bench. Another dress code that came around the same time dealt with an issue on the court. Players had begun to wear shorts that were nearly pants. The NBA didn't like the look, so they made a rule about the length of shorts. Yes, they really did that. We're not sure why anyone cares about the length of shorts players wear, but the NBA does. They care enough to issue fines over it. They care so much, they fine both the players and the teams that allow them. Seriously, in 2005, the NBA made the point that they were serious about the dress code. They handed out $130,000 in fines to players for wearing shorts that were more than 1 inch below the knee. In addition to that, for allowing 4 players to break the shorts code in a single game, the NBA fined the Philadelphia 76ers $200,000 or $50,000 for each player. The Spreewell Incident. If you're an avid NBA fan, you've likely heard of this altercation already. It took place back in 1997, but has continued to get mentioned here and there, especially when a player and coach aren't getting along. In 1997, Latrell Spreewell was the star player for the Golden State Warriors, while PJ Carlesimo was the head coach. For the Golden State Warriors, the two did not get along, to say the least. It all came down to a head in a practice. As the story goes, Carlesimo told Spreewell to put some mustard on his passes. Spreewell told the coach off, which caused Carlesimo to want to talk. As Carlesimo approached Spreewell, the player warned him to not get any closer, and even threatened to kill him if he did. Carlesimo kept moving, and once he got close enough, Spreewell snapped. He grabbed the coach by the throat, choke-slammed him to the floor, and reportedly kept choking him for 10 to 15 seconds as everyone else tried to pull him off the coach. Spreewell indeed tried to kill his coach for walking towards him after he was loafing in practice. The Warriors tried to void Spreewell's contract, but weren't allowed. They opted to suspend him without pay for the remainder of the season. It ended up being the second longest suspension a player has ever received, and Spreewell lost millions in salary. Operating a camera is risky business. If you've watched the NBA, you've likely seen all the cameramen that are perched right around the basket. It's a dangerous spot to be. Players will sometimes crash into them when fighting for a rebound or driving into the basket. This happens more often than you think, but usually with no lasting effect. The players return to the court, and the photographers continue taking pictures. Injuries have happened, but one incident in 1997 had special circumstances that led to a suspension and a fine for the player. Dennis Rodman was always on the verge of losing it and going too far. He was physical and not scared to get into it with opponents, and an unpredictable oddball on the court. During a game in 1997, he crashed into the pool of photographers. Rodman, for some strange reason, took offense to the guy he landed on. While in front of the guy, Rodman kicked him. The photographer had to leave on a stretcher. Rodman was suspended for 11 games and fined $25,000 for his actions. He got off light, if you ask us. Numbers maketh the man. Okay, so what about those 2 fines involving Michael Jordan? The first is a well-known one that helped create the league around him. When he entered the league, he wore the shoes of an upstart shoe company. That company was Nike. Not yet a household name, they believed signing a young star would help bring attention to their shoes. Boy, were they ever right. Shoe endorsement deals were not yet a common thing like today. Jordan wore the Nike shoes, but they were against the rule. The shoes were black and red. The NBA rules dictated while being the primary color, and only team colors were allowed outside of that. The NBA fined Jordan $5,000 for every game he wore them. He only made $6,000 a game back then, so it wasn't insignificant. The other fine may be even stranger, and has become forgotten by many. When Jordan returned to play for the Bulls in the mid-1990s, he did so wearing the number 45 rather than the number 23. That had become synonymous with it. He continued to wear number number 45 until things were going south in the playoffs against the Orlando Magic. Mid-series, he decided to switch back to number 23 in an effort to get his mojo back. He did improve individually, but the Bulls still lost. The NBA has a rule about switching numbers. Apparel is made with a specific number, and players become known by the numbers they wear. They don't allow for mid-season switches. Changing a number has to be applied for and approved by the NBA. Jordan didn't do this when he went back to number 23 and was fined $25,000 for every game he wore the wrong number. Yes, the guy everyone knows for the number 23 was fined for wearing that exact number.